How you doing? And welcome again to another installment of Objectively Biased. With me, your host, the Objective One. And sticking with the football theme, I'm going with my football predictions this year for the AFC North and the NFC North. So without further ado, let's get it underway. My first prediction here is going to be the Baltimore Ravens finishing dead last. Yes, that bird is toast. Although I like John Harbaugh and I like what he does coaching, this team has not done anything to get younger or better. We're talking about Joe Flacco throwing to nobody. He's got Bernard Perryman, and that's it. Team really doesn't have much in the receiving aspect. They don't have anything spectacular on the front line. Their offense, as a matter of fact, from an efficiency standpoint, was ranked 22nd last season. So don't expect much from this team. Again, Joe Flacco, with the exception of 2014, has been a below average quarterback, throwing 14 touchdowns and 12 picks last year, 19 and 22 2 years ago. Listen, I know Ravens fans are raving over what they could be, but you're just holding on to what was. Take it for what it is. You won a Super Bowl. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye. You will be the doormat of the division. All right. And now on to the Cleveland Browns. And Cleveland, well, they've been dog shit. They've been the doormat of the division for how many decades now? The only way to them is up. So I'm going to go with Hugh Jackson being brought in as a coach to bring and drive a change of culture for this organization, which is desperately needed. He brings in RG3, who he himself needed a change in scenery, and hopefully he can change the trajectory of his career. He's going to have Josh Gordon to throw to. He'll have a decent running game with Isaiah Crowell and Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson also was heavy in the passing game, and as a rookie performed spectacularly for Cleveland last season, one of the few bright spots that they had. As far as defense is concerned, well, they're whatever defensively. But again, he addressed defensive line issues in the draft. He addressed offensive line issues in the draft. This is not a team that is going to be a quick, fast, in a hurry fix. This is a team that's going to take 3 to 4 years, and if the organization is patient, they will get the results desired. Now, unfortunately, this is a team that's probably going to be 3-13, ceiling 5-11. Same with the Baltimore Ravens. So I've got them both finishing at the bottom. It's just a matter of who you think is going to be worse. Now on to the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals, I have them finishing in second. Now this is a team that's probably going to go anywhere between 9-7 to ceiling 11-5. Reason being, Andy Dalton. He was having a spectacular season last year. 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He was second in passer rating. He was fifth in QBR. He put up some of his best statistics career-wise. The offensive line hasn't changed. And if they can figure out what to do with Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard and get a consistent running game going, this team's going to be right back in the hunt. The only issue that I've got with Cincinnati repeating and taking this division is Hugh Jackson. He was the offensive mind behind this team, and he's no longer there. That's going to be the big question mark. The talent's there. The pieces are all there. It's just going to be, what is this offense going to look like now post Hugh Jackson? Marvin Lewis, everyone's been calling for your head. This season, you are on the clock. And if you don't win, well, you might not have a job. And now on to my favorite to win the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, I know Le'Veon Bell is probably going to be serving a 4-game suspension. Really doesn't matter because this team is all about the pass. Ben Roethlisberger is throwing up a storm, And he's got the receivers to do it, especially the best receiver in the game in Antonio Brown. We haven't seen anybody put up yards and receptions like Antonio Brown has since, Jerry Rice. Expect more of the same. And with Martavius Bryant out for the year because of a suspension, it's going to just serve more receptions, more yards, and possibly more touchdowns for Antonio Brown. And when Le'Veon Bell gets back, well, guess what? Now you're not going to be able to stop a kick-ass pass game, but then you're not going to be able to stop a kick-ass running game on top of it. Also, defensively, they've been in the top 10 defensively the last 2 years. There shouldn't be any slight or any slide whatsoever defensively. This team is efficient, and Mike Tomlin runs a well-oiled organization there. I don't expect anything less but 10-6, 11-5 from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Competition-wise, listen, the AFC North is going to wind up playing the NFC East and the AFC East. And the NFC East, in my opinion, is a coin toss. So, scheduling-wise, I think the Steelers are going to make out, and the Steelers are going to be fine, and they'll win that division. Here we go. On to the NFC North. And for my last place prediction, the doormat of that division is going to be the Chicago Bears. Why? Adam Gase, gone. Matt Forte, gone. Guess what? Jay Cutler's numbers, gone. It's not going to be a pretty sight for Chicago fans. I like Jeremy Langford. I like what he brings to the running game, but the fact was he was averaging less than 3 yards a carry last season. This is an offensive line that is not going to be efficient. This is a team that defensively hasn't been efficient. So you're going to rely on Jay Cutler launching the ball to Alshon Jeffrey and hopefully a healthy Kevin White. Oh yeah, that's right, Martellus Bennett, gone. Chicago's chances of winning more than 5 games, guess what? Gone. Goodbye, Chicago. Now for third place, the Detroit Lions. Yes, I think the Detroit Lions could win actually 6 games this season. While the retirement of Calvin Johnson is going to hurt them, it's not going to hurt them as much as people think. Remember, Calvin Johnson was injured last year and the year before. Golden Tate stepped in and performed exceptionally well. You've got a very good receiving tight end in Eric Ebron, and if they can figure out how to use Joyke Bell, listen, Detroit can have a halfway decent season, give the city of Detroit something to cheer about other than Eminem. So, while I think Detroit is going to be, again, a sub-500 team, I do think that this team has something to build on here. Again, we're talking about Matthew Stafford at quarterback, and Stafford is the tale of 2 halves. First half of the season or second half of the season. One half he does great, the other half he's complete garbage. And if Detroit is going to have any success, it's going to be based on his consistency. Defensively, look, we saw what the defensive drop-off was when they lost Ndamukong Suh. They went from 3rd to 16th in defensive efficiency. But guess what? It's not going to get any worse than that. They've got a very good secondary, and I don't think they're going to be something that gets rolled over. This is a team that's going to win some games that people won't expect them to. But at the end of the day, 6-10 is their ceiling. 4-12 could be a likely possibility. Now on to the Minnesota Vikings. They will finish second. And this is a team that, in my opinion, their floor is 10-6. Their ceiling could potentially be 12-4 and win the division. All of that will be predicated on the performance of Teddy Bridgewater, a guy who 14 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. Well, each of the last 2 seasons, I should say. 11 interceptions, 9 interceptions. It's been good enough to get by with a defense that's efficiency is 13th in the NFL. You're going to have to get better. Now, Minnesota's doing what they need to do to bring the pieces around them. They bring out that German wide receiver, big dude, 6'5", like 240 in Bowringer. They bring in Treadwell from Ole Miss, So you've got some good wide receivers there, outside receivers that can go up and get the ball. That'll free up the other guys like Charles Johnson and Stephon Diggs, the smaller guys, the speedsters, and put them in the slot where they belong as opposed to trying to run either the X or the Y routes. But again, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be key. You got Adrian Peterson, and I know he's turning 31 this season, but you know what? He hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. And after what we seen this freak of nature do when he tore his ACL and came back and led the league in rushing, I'm not betting against his ass. I think Minnesota's going to do well, and I think, like I said, second place, but they have the possibility of taking first place. Now on to the Green Bay Packers and my pick to win the division, because this team can go 11-5 or 12-4. Why? Aaron Rodgers. Do you need any other reason or explanation? He's top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He's getting Jordy Nelson back fully healthy. And contrary to popular belief, Randall Cobb was playing hurt last season, and his inability to separate from defenders was a direct result. Healthy Cobb, healthy Nelson, an offense that in 2014 ranked number 1 in efficiency, and with an injured Cobb, a Nelson that was missing in action, and an overweight Eddie Lacy, who just pounded down way too many Oreo cookies in the offseason, they went to 21st. Guess what? Eddie Lacy comes back slim and trim. Nelson healthy. Cobb healthy. What do you think? 3rd, maybe 4th in offensive efficiency? That's good enough to get them first place in that division and make a run in the playoffs. Their defense, listen, has been consistent. 13th and 15th in efficiency the last 2 seasons. Not much is changing there. They're going to be productive. Their schedule is going to give them an opportunity to win some easy games. So Green Bay, first place, possibly Super Bowl. All right. So now you got my predictions. Now I'm going to offer up a little bit of objectiveness, if you will. And it's going to stay true to the theme of the NFL. And in this particular case, what the NFL wants to do in regards to the players that were named in the Al Jazeera report. Now, let me preface by saying this. The Al Jazeera report, the source recanted what they said and the players they implicated as far as taking performance enhancement drugs. And I say let me preface it because Peyton Manning was mentioned in that. Now, Peyton Manning hired certain individuals, not legal individuals, but they were considered part of the legal team, if you will. Same kind of legal team John Gotti would send to your door. And after that legal team met with said source, suddenly he recants. Take it for whatever you want to take it as. But players like James Harrison and Clay Matthews were mentioned in this. And Roger Goodell says he wants to send an investigation committee out to speak with these individuals that were mentioned. To which James Harrison had some choice words. Now, I'm all for being against Roger Goodell and the NFL brass because they're, quite frankly, heinous and anal with the way they do things. But the bottom line is this. Players like you, James Harrison, you play for the NFL. They pay you. That's your employer. Just like I or anyone else has an employer. And if my employer says they want to interview me over something that I may consider bullshit, I gotta bite my tongue, do the fucking interview, and live to get another paycheck. Well, guess what? you got to do the same thing. Why? Because while the NFL has become America's new great pastime, the NFLPA, yes, James Harrison, your players union, is pillow soft. I'm talking a roll of Charmin. Weakest of all the major sports. So instead of bitching about Roger Goodell, and trust me, I am no co-signer of anything that asshole does, maybe you should go to DeMaurice Smith. Complain to him. Because I've read the CBA. Cover to cover. You talk about vague. Pretty vague. Doesn't specify anything favoring the players. So what the fuck are you paying the union for? Stop bitching, man up, and do your job. And with that being said, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Stephen Fogmeg. Follow me on Instagram at S_Fogmeg and on Twitter at SFogmeg. Again, thank you and enjoy.